Hey guys, and welcome back. I am the Seven Swords. I apologize if I am, if I sound a bit groggy this morning. It's early morning, but I don't have time today to um, put off um, doing this. So I'm going to be doing it now. Um, just brought you guys back in. I will be doing some cutting. I won't be doing as much cutting once we get the base fully established, but right now we're not even at a point that I feel like I can call it even partially established. Um, we have a decent running so far. Um, we have resources that we're making and smelting and then processing. Right now, we're not using the steel at all. We're going to change that because I've got to use the steel to make engine units and then plastics and then red circuits with plastics, and then I need to make blue science so we can get to blue science. Once we get to white science, we'll be redesigning the entire base using a logistics network, and you guys will be seeing more of that. Um, but we're going to continue to hop forward. Um, my current plan is to start working on getting blue science today. Um, you guys will probably see a lot more of me just building and stuff because at this point we're at the point where we can start doing that. Um, I do want to eventually build. Actually, that's what we're going to do right now. Is we're going to make it to where we can go ahead and start working on building. We do this, and then we go with this and this. We can go ahead and do this, 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 this. I'm just going to use this to make red belts. So we have a trickle of red belts constantly being made. As we can see, it doesn't keep up quite well with the gears because the gears are slowly being made. This isn't the right ratio, but I also just wanted to have a trickle of it coming in. We can also do this. We'll make that not necessary for a while, but that's fine. Like I said, we're going to be planning on moving down the line of making more of this. You guys will see me doing more stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out me crafting stuff. We are doing a trickle of blue science. That's what this is for. This is to get blue science running. Our goal is to get to space. Once we can launch the platform, we can start getting white science, and then white science will unlock a lot of researches, mostly logistics tech. Once we get logistics tech, we'll be able to start using logistics tech to start expanding. Um, we're also going to be working towards getting nuclear. Um, our eventual power source is going to be a nuclear power plant. As of right now, we don't have the necessities to create nuclear, um, nor do we have the necessities to build or run a nuclear power plant. We obviously need uranium processing. We're also going to be doing that on every planet. I'm just going to be I'm basically going to pocket a nuclear reactor and send it up to space onto the ship that's going to take me from planet to planet. And I'm going to build a nuclear reactor on every planet that is self-sufficient. It's basically going to be set up to where I wouldn't need a nuclear reactor from anything else. Um, I have seen Gleba spawned like with Void Block. I have not seen the other planets because I accidentally loaded Void Block during one of my playthroughs, and so I have a Navis that looks normal, a Fulgora that looks normal, a Vulcanist that looks normal, and a Gleba that is Void Block. So that was very interesting. So I already understand how Gleba is going to work. I think that gives me an idea how the others are going to work, but we'll see. But I'll bring you guys back as soon as we've gotten a little bit further, and I'm going to be trickling my way through blue science a little bit. Obviously not too much because obviously this is not a very fast process. This is nowhere near the ratios you would need. We would need a ton more red circuits, but this is allowing us to build up a little bit extra circuits mostly green circuits, but also a bit of blue circuits even before we have the research. That's the one advantage of using this recipe. I have not unlocked blue circuits yet, and yet it is letting me craft blue circuits. Um, does give a small chance of blue circuits, so that shows how long this has been crafting. This has crafted 1,190 blue 90 components, and out of that we've gotten 30 blue circuits. That's definitely not a process that can be used for the long term, but it does help with creating resources, and we will be using that information on Volgoro when we get there. But for now, I'll see you guys when I bring you guys back. All right, decided to bring you guys back to show you guys this process. So we're going to be taking this fluix refining and processing raw void flux into petroleum gas, water, and void flux. How we get raw void flux is from these. They are like pump jacks, but they can be placed anywhere, and they just pump out this raw void flux. I'm letting some blue science researches that I need for further processing going on. Basically, advanced oil processing, which will allow us to craft better versions of different oils. Um, More inserters, which will basically give me more configurationalism on my inserters. Circuit networking, which will allow me to work better with circuits. High potency, which basically allows me to create petroleum gas, light oil, and heavy oil from the void. And then modules in order to get productivity modules, so I can throw those into my science setup. Actually, that's a good point. I should get these automatically just because of the fact that I'm going to need those for the modules. But back to this process. I'm going to go ahead and build a few big power poles. Basically, the way that this process will work is, like I said, it's going to process this. I'll bring you guys back as soon as I get this process finished being set up, and I'll show you how to use these three to where you should be able to use them without having too much of a problem. See you guys when I bring it back. Alright, so a little bit of an update on what's been going on. So I've set the process up. We did research advanced oil processing. So basically what happens is these pump up raw void flux, which gets pumped into here. This gets turned into petroleum gas, water, and void flux. The void flux is pumped out of here and turned into this coalescence infusion, which basically allows us to create products without byproducts. So we're creating straight oil from this, which then gives us the oil to turn into heavy oil, light oil, and more petroleum gas. The water from this is being pumped into this as well. I don't know if this ratio is going to break. I don't know if there's too much water going into here, but it's not that big of a deal since petroleum gas is going to be the one we use the most of. It'll be fine. This stuff will get cracked down eventually. I will be moving this setup down because I plan on doing blue science over here as much as I can. I'll be doing a little bit over here, and I'll be bringing the resources from the bus down here, but I might move this around depending on where I need to put it. I was running this water line over to here, which basically it'll fill this up past 50. This is now only filling this up to 50. That would allow this process to offshoot its water. I will put it. I will set it back up if it turns out it needs it, but I don't know if it's going to need it yet. And I might move these pipes around a bit depending on where I end up placing it. Maybe under here, or I don't know. Right now I'm just getting this running because I've not really worked with this process. When I played through this on my own, I didn't know about these and I didn't know about this process, so I was using just straight creating oil from void and using that. So this is a little bit of a different process for me. This will also make it a lot easier to keep these in balance instead of having to deal with not having enough of them. I'll explain more about that when we set up our true oil processing with the real base, or at least our our pre-space base. But for now, this is what I've built so far. I now have to start working on oil cracking and stuff like that to get more petroleum gas, but we're going to be moving all of this, so I just wanted to bring you guys in and show you how this works. I will show you the final product as soon as it's finished. Be right back. Alright, welcome back, guys. So what we've made right now is this is the entire cracking process. I might move this eventually, maybe to down here so that it's out of the way, and I can do my sulfur and stuff up here. But what I've created so far is this process will take, so we had the process down here that created the flux, water, and petroleum. What I've added to the system is this, which is the same as this system, which will create water. It will only fill this up if it's less than 50. So we'll always use the byproduct of this before using any of this water we're creating. This petroleum gas will flow up to here into this tank, and same with the ones that come from here. If this tank drops below 5,000 and this tank is above 5,000, this circuit will allow this to create petroleum crack into petroleum gas. As long as this tank is below 5,000 and this tank is above 5,000, this circuit will allow this to create light oil. Right now we don't need to be making petroleum gas because we have plenty of it. That will not be the case forever, obviously, because we will be using petroleum gas for a lot of different things. And eventually we will be needing these other two for different things, rocket fuel and a couple of other, and lubricants and stuff like that. Probably not with this setup. I will probably be rebuilding the base when that happens, but we will be getting to that. Next I will be making sulfur and plastic from petroleum gas and getting engines units from the main bus. Once I've created those, I will then be able to use them to create blue science at a more efficient rate to then complete science researches we need to get to space, and eventually do our nuclear research. This is very expensive though, so I'll be putting that off for quite some time. The next one we're going to do is lubrication, because lubrication will eventually unlock logistics 3, which takes purple science, but we will eventually be getting to logistics 3 to upgrading our system with blue belts. I also would like bolt converters and batteries. I'm not one for using accumulators because I don't see it as useful as just going with creating a nuclear reactor and running power. But we might create some for some solar panels on other planets. There are a few planets that have solar panels that are really good. Not to mention our space platforms might use a little bit of battery power. But I'm going to go ahead and get sulfur and plastic set up so I can start making red circuits and engines. I'll bring you guys back as soon as that's finished. Alright, bringing you guys back. Like I said, I don't have a lot of time to be recording today, so we're going to be recording a lot of just filler content. I am trying to get one up by Thursday. If you guys would rather just see me release content as it becomes available instead of me releasing these filler content episodes, let me know in the comments section down below. But what we have created here is our plastic and sulfur processing. Basically, it's a very quick and dirty setup. Instead of bringing coal in from anywhere else, I decided to just create the coal here using the excess colorless fluid. You don't use up much water or oil. This is not a very good process. It takes a long time and creates very little of the colorless. I know I'm saying that wrong, but I'm never going to be able to say it properly, so sorry. But you never really use too much oil or water. They don't need very lots, so a little trickle of this will work fine, and coal will be fine as well, since plastics will be, I just want a trickle of plastics to improve blue science. I'm not trying to complete my final setup of blue science just yet. We have red circuits, we have green circuits, and we have gears already on the belts. That means we're going to need pipes for engine units, copper wire for red circuits, and that's it. That's the only things we have to craft. Copper wire for red circuits is pretty easy because the red circuit copper wire relationship is a lot better. But the first thing I'll be setting up is getting our blue science setup made. I'm going to need to craft a few more items, so I'll bring you guys back as soon as we have that process ready. Alright, thought I'd bring you guys back and give you guys a bit of an update. Um, as you can see, we're really hurting on iron. This red belt process it consumes a ton of iron, but it also helps me out with this, so it's fine. Um, Obviously, the system is running low on raw resources. So what I have the system doing right now is all of these are creating the prismarite stuff, which is then going towards making us iron ore right now. I keep switching out what's being focused on. Now that we're making plenty of iron ore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this over to splitting. That'll let iron ore keep up, but it will also start helping us get a little bit more stone. It'll also mean we're not burning off. We're not going to be burning off as much of the iron ore as we were. As far as the landfill goes, we're still working on building it. It's one reason why I'm switching back and forth between focusing on stone and not focusing on stone. Um, if I had a suggestion for this, if you're wanting to play this pack and you're trying to figure this out, one of my suggestions is until you get the research that we're working towards, which needs nuclear stuff to do, um, switch these two. Make iron your first, stone your second, copper your third, and wood your fourth. You're always going to need because if you're doing it like this, you're always going to need stone. Like you're never going to have enough stone, so you're always going to be wanting this is always going to be consuming stone faster than you can make it, um, no matter what you do. So iron first, because you're not always going to be consuming all your iron. You could probably do it copper, iron, stone in the reverse order. I don't need much copper, but that means that copper would stay full. I don't need much iron, so that means I need quite a bit of iron, but not as much as I need stone. I think that would be a better process. I'm not going to bother switching it though, because I'm willing to sit here and wait. If you're trying to get through this quickly, or if you're not the patient kind of person, I would switch those around, because that would make your lives a lot easier. Um, I would also build a larger smelter setup than this, but again, I'm planning on this is going to be obsolete after too long. We're going to be switching over to electric furnaces instead of using these steel furnaces as soon as we get past the um, current stage we're at, which is just getting blue science built. I did build enough blue science that I did build my usual 12 blue sciences. I don't think we're going to need this, because I don't think it's going to keep. I don't think we're going to be able to make the process for this, but I did build it anyways. Um, right now I'm working on getting the wires for the red circuits, and then we're going to be getting the pipes. We already have the sulfur. Normally I would put sulfur and engine units on the same thing, since they're the two lowest and red circuits are the most. But again, I don't think I'm going to be able to feed this enough anyways, and this made this a lot more simple. I don't mind using spaghetti, especially when it comes down to the first starter bases, but I don't like using it if I don't have to, because it is a waste of resources building all the extra belts to do the spaghetti. But a little bit of pasta never hurt nobody. At least I don't think so. Don't quote me on that. But I will bring you guys back as soon as we've gotten there. I am still waiting on getting a decent amount of resources. That's one reason why I did this, because I needed more iron. Um, but once I get to a little bit further along, I'll bring you guys back. Alright, bringing you guys back in. We had a little bit of a power issue. We were not making nearly enough void fuel to keep up with the power supply. So I have updated that now to have more. We are running a little low on the fuel due to that problem, but it has now been taken care of, and we should be running well with steam for a little bit longer. Um, Completely doubled our power production for what we needed. Um, Part of the cause of that was having red circuits finally set up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spaghetti its way back towards blue science. I'm going to use a lot of underground belts here, even though I probably shouldn't. I don't like using underground belts unless I need to. Um, I think there's an efficiency to using underground belts. I just don't like um, uh, using underground belts where it's not necessary, because then it gets hard to see where everything is that I'm using is at. But obviously, as you can tell from the setup I'm doing right now, um, this will bring in our red circuits and our engine units, which will share their line. This is probably a terrible idea, since red circuits will probably need a ton of red circuits for blue science. But um, like I said, this isn't really to get a good setup. This is just to get a setup that will run. Um, I didn't feed this last one. Again, this isn't my ideal setup for this, but this is going to work for now. Same with this. Um, as far as engine units go, that's going to be the next thing I'm working on, which means I'm going to need pipes, which I'm going to make here, and then I'm going to bring gears and steel and the pipes together to create our engine units. Um, I'm obviously going to need more stone and more resources for that. Right now we're working on weapon shooting speed. Normally I wouldn't need this with it being in peaceful, but space age changes this. You actually want these bullets to be relatively decent, because you're going to be shooting things that are trying to kill you, but they're not thinking about trying to kill you. At least I hope they're not. We'll talk about more of that when we get to space. Do you guys want to bring it back? All right, welcome back. Um, we have made our way towards engine units, or we have made our way to engine units. Although this needs to get extended, this needs to get extended, and that needs to get extended. But we've made our way to engine units, which means we are finally making blue science on the bus. Which means we no longer need the blue science setup over here, which is making a whole bunch of byproducts as well. I will be leaving um, this chest of blue science here, but I will be tearing down this entire process, because we no longer need it, and I no longer need to worry about um, all of the stuff that's going to back up if I let it. Um, with this process now finished and blue science now well underway, we can now move on to the next stage. The next stage being the fact that we're going to need, let's see, we're going to need, now that we have blue circuits of good amounts coming in, I can do a little bit more with blue circuits, which I plan on doing engine units, robo frames, and then finally we're getting towards our logistics network to rebuild the base. We will be doing nuclear power eventually, but we're also going to do processing units, low density structures, and what else am I missing for the rocket? Oh, flammables for. Forgot flammables lead to rocket fuel, which then leads to being able to build the rocket. And we also need. Really? Logistics box needs a rocket? Didn't know that. Consider me surprised. And then we'll be able to get our rocket. So it's going to be a lot of me waiting around for this process. We're getting close to the end of this episode. Again, I apologize if it was just a bunch of filler stuff. It's just me trying to get you guys the content before the deadline. I am trying to get these up on Thursdays. Um, like I said, if you guys are like, hey, we'd rather see you do more actual content than just filler content, um, then let me know. Like I said, these ratios are not correct. We need a lot more engine units than we're currently making. I might extend them a bit with more landfill. Um, we might do a couple of other things, but right now I'm just trying to get this running. Obviously, we won't be needing as much blue science because I do have the productivity modules installed. Um, this process also isn't really needed. Um, I am finding that we are going through the water fast enough to be fine. I don't really need to be able to burn the water off in the thing in the boiler system, so I'm just going to get rid of this. Um, we are going to move away from steam power. Like I said, we are going to do nuclear eventually. I'm going to start working on building centrifuges. I've been putting that off because they obviously take a lot of resources, and I did want to have red circuits on the belt before I considered that. Um, but I will be slowly working on these in the background, and then when I bring you guys back or in the next episode, I will show you guys what exactly we'll be doing with them. We'll also be working on getting our first nuclear setup built so that we can start having nuclear power eventually. But I will. Okay, we've run into a plastic issue because we've run into a. That is that. That is that. Greater than 0. Oh, there we go. That wasn't set up right. I didn't click this button. I'm annoyed by myself for that. Does this one get clicked? No, it did not. So that's why that's all stopped, because we weren't cracking light oil or heavy oil, which meant we ran into having too much light oil, which you have a lot of the problem of. Now we have plenty of petroleum gas, and we're going to be getting plenty of red circuits. That's a lot of what I end up having to do in this game, is babysitting the process and being like, okay, why aren't you working, and then figuring it out, and then calling in, going in to fix it. We apparently ran into a copper shortage. Not expecting that. I already know what's going on. Copper ore isn't being made nearly enough of. Again, it's one of those processes of, I should really switch these 3 around to where we're making copper, iron, and then stone, not stone, iron, and copper. So these 2 should be switched. I'm actually going to go ahead and do that. That can be as simple as this, and then switching this over to copper processing instead of stone processing. And then what we do is then we put this here, and then it'll just say make copper, make iron, make stone. And then what we can do to speed this process up a bit more is just focus it. Now it'll make the copper we need, which copper we don't need nearly as much of in the early game. We're about to get to where we're going to need more copper. That's why we are running low on copper, because we are burning through the copper pretty quickly. But we will eventually get to the point where we are burning through copper even faster. These bring up to 500. Okay, so I might want to... No. It'll be fine, because it won't burn it off fast enough. I'll be making copper faster, and so it'll eventually get to where I have more copper being made. I could set this up to be where this stops at 199. That's actually probably a good idea. So now this process will not consume an over amount of copper. It will continue to trickle copper, but it won't make copper as much. And this will allow iron to be made a little bit better. Still going pretty far though, because of the fact that it's 199. We'll do 180 and see how that works. We're still burning through copper to try and bring copper up, and obviously we don't need this copper plate and iron plate process anymore. I'm just leaving them there because I'm too lazy to remove them, but eventually we will get rid of them because we don't need them anymore. You'll notice we have a lot of void shards. That's fine. Building up on extra void shards is a good thing. Same with stone brick. Same with prismatic plate. The stone bricks aren't that great, but that's fine. I can use them as I need them. These void sheds we're about to see the end of these void sheds. I really don't need them right now, but their trickle of resources isn't exactly a bad thing. But like I said, we're going to be pushing forward. I might build some more science setups. I don't want to, because then I'll lose my productivity bonus and I'll have to build more productivity modules, but that might actually not be a bad thing. We're actually going to go ahead and build 10 more productivity modules and 5 more labs. Just so I can get this process a little bit faster, because like I said, I am running low on time today. So this will actually be the end. I will run this for a little bit longer. Oops. I will run this for a little bit longer um, off screen, just to get the process a little bit further along, so we don't have to worry too much about um, doing the stuff when we come back. But that's going to be next time. Um, I've been the Seven Swords. You've all been amazing. If you like what you're seeing, please hit that like button. It helps me know how the series is doing as a whole. If you guys want to see more or less content, if you guys want me to change something, if there's something you guys feel needs to be improved on, I'm hoping my audio quality is better. Like I said, probably sounded a little groggy today, but like I said, I don't have a lot of time to record today, so I needed to get in and do some recording. You guys have only seen about 30 minutes, but I've been here for almost 2 hours, and that was more than I wanted to have today, um, dedicated to recording, because I have other things I need to take care of. Um, but we've gotten blue science, we've gotten green science, and we've gotten red science on the belt. No longer do I need to do any handcrafting for these. Um, Science will be now processed. Esoteric science will still be done in my inventory, but that's just because I don't feel like setting up an esoteric science setup just yet. Not to mention, wood is not exactly something I'm going to have an excess amount of. Um, so we are going to be using esoteric science picked by hand. I might make some esoteric science because a couple of these things would be useful to have, but we will go over that more. Like I said, we're going to get low density structures, flammability, rocket fuel, logistics robots, and I am also going to queue up um, the rocket itself and nuclear power. I will be off screening that. I am not going to make you guys watch as I work my way through to getting a powerful a nuclear, a nuclear power plant. I was going to say a powerful nuclear setup, but the research for it. I do have a blueprint that I'd use for my nuclear setup. I think it's a pretty decent one. And I think it looks pretty neat. I will show it to you guys when we get it. I'm going to be importing the blueprint, so I'm not going to be making it on this save. Um, I do have a bit of blueprints. I do like the fact that they now share between your setups. This kind of gives you an idea of some of my blueprints. A lot of these are just me cobbling them together. Um, I probably will use my furnace setups from other playthroughs. I probably won't set up my own. I might go on and look for other ones. A lot of these are space platforms and stuff like that that I was building. Um, but um, once I get into the once I get a little bit further, this is my mall setup and stuff like that. But once I get a little bit further, you guys will see some more of these. I haven't been really needing them lately because it is just me building these processes, and I don't have a lot of good um, blueprints. But I'm rambling, and I'm over time. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you guys later. Bye.